Hi guys, I hope you guys are doing well. I finally decided to try IBIS Paint for the first time. I just kind of want to share my initial thoughts on it and if I feel like it's a good program for beginners. I should mention before we start, I've been using Procreate for 5-ish years now. I used Photoshop for a little bit, and before that, I pretty much used Microsoft Paint. So that's my experience with art programs. The first thing I want to say about IBIS Paint is I really like that it is a free program. There are not a lot of decent quality free programs out there for artists, and I feel like I would consider it a decent program. I don't think it's good enough to make me want to leave Procreate behind, but I do think if you are a new digital artist or if you want to get into digital art, I do think it's a really good option. I'd say the thing I like most about it is that it has a lot of tools that are also applicable in Photoshop, Procreate, other art programs. I initially thought that IBIS Paint couldn't do layer modes, and then I realized as I was working, oh, you can make multiply layers and overlay and soft light layers, and that's a really big part of my workflow. For a free program to include that, I think that's really awesome, because if you can start on IBIS Paint and get used to using things like multiply and overlay layers, and then once you move on to, let's say Procreate or Photoshop, you already have that foundation built in of, oh, here's how, if you move on to Photoshop, you're not totally overwhelmed by all the shiny new stuff because you're used to it. That was my thing whenever I first tried Photoshop. Part of the reason why I didn't stay with it for long is because I was just overwhelmed by all of the fancy stuff that it could do, all the tools and the options. I didn't know how to use any of it. I came from Microsoft Paint to Photoshop. I didn't know how to use layer modes. I didn't know how to use the lasso tool. I still don't know how to use the lasso tool half the time in Photoshop. I think it's really important to learn the basics of how to use those, and the fact that this program includes that, I think, is a huge bonus. One thing I didn't like about this program is the brushes. I didn't expect the free brushes to be life-changing or anything. I did have a couple of problems with the brushes. I will start with the ads. I didn't realize an art program did this, but apparently in IBIS Paint, the way that it works is they have a list of free brushes, but some of the brushes, to unlock it, you have to watch ads. And from my understanding, I believe you have to watch ads and then it'll unlock all of the brushes for 4 hours. I really don't like that. I do understand it being a free program. I understand they have to make money some way. I get it. But I feel like that's just I just feel like that really takes you out of your workflow, especially if you do your work in multiple sittings. If you're super excited to start on your painting and then you're like, oh wait, let me just watch, 2 or 3 ads before I can get started. I just don't love that. The ads overall were not super annoying. They are constantly in the screen somewhere, but while I was working, I really didn't notice them. I didn't find them that bad. Whenever I would move to another screen, it would have an ad pop up, which was it's mildly annoying, but it's not that bad. My biggest problem with the ads was the one where you have to watch ads to unlock all of the brushes. I only used the brushes that were already unlocked. I didn't watch any ads to unlock more brushes or anything, but the brushes, the weird thing about it was they all kind of looked the same to me. There was no brushes with any kind of texture or really anything different. They all kind of looked the same. I would see groups of 3 or 4 brushes and it would have in parentheses what made it different, but whenever I used it, they literally all look the same to me. I do think you can import brushes, or at least get brushes from other creators on the program somehow. I didn't delve too much into it, but I did see the option. So the painting that I did, I basically just used a round brush and a airbrush for the whole thing. As far as the experience of painting, I feel like I can't say too much about it because I have used Procreate for so long, and so switching to a different program, no matter what, I'm gonna feel disoriented. You know what I mean? So it did feel very clunky, and I just felt like everything was all over the place. But I will say I would probably feel that way about any program. So I'm not gonna say that that was like a negative, because I feel like that was probably more so just me just not being used to a new software, because these are just my initial thoughts. I've made one painting on there so far, and so it's gonna take me some time to kind of get used to the workflow and just decide for myself if it is just me or the program, or how I feel about it. But I do think overall, I think I would say I find this a pretty decent program. Again, the fact that you can do alpha lock and clipping masks and all these layer modes. Back in the day, back in the olden days, we had Microsoft Paint, and that was it. Like, that was your only free option. So I feel like as far as free programs go, I think this is a really good option. I know a lot of people online use IBIS Paint. I've had people ask me to do tutorials in IBIS Paint. I probably will eventually, actually. I might do a couple of tutorials in IBIS Paint once I get more used to it and figure out my process in it and my workflow. I feel like if you are brand new to digital art and you're not really sure like what program to use and where to start, trying to use as little money as possible, I think this is actually a really great option. If you eventually move on to a program like Photoshop from IBIS Paint, I think there's a lot less overwhelm, and you're gonna actually know more about how to use the tools in Photoshop if you start with IBIS Paint. By starting with IBIS Paint, you're learning how to use layer modes and alpha lock and clipping mask and all of these tools that can be applied to other programs. So if you eventually upgrade your program, you kind of already have this foundation built in of knowing how most of the tools work. And I think that's really, really important. And for this to be a free program, I think that's awesome. If you are already a digital artist, if you already have a program like Photoshop or Procreate, I don't think I would worry about using IBIS Paint, to be honest. The only reason I really got IBIS Paint was to just try it out and see if I liked it. I don't think that I will, overall, to be honest. I think the ads are going to be just a little bit too much, and I also think there's also Clip Studio Paint that I want to try. So like there's other programs that I'm going to end up trying just to see if I like them, and I just don't think IBIS Paint is going to be able to match up with those. Yeah, I kind of started, to be honest, I had a lot of people comment and ask if I could do tutorials in other programs. And I'm starting with IBIS Paint because it's free. A lot of people use it. It's a free program. I kind of want to learn the basics of it and see if I can make a completed painting. This one that I made, I'm just not super happy with it. But again, I need to learn more of the program first and really figure out how everything works in it before I can make a really nice painting, I think. And so that's what I'm going to be like working on doing. I would love to make I think I had somebody specifically ask about rendering in IBIS Paint, and so I want to eventually try making, once I get better at learning the program, I do want to make a video like that. If you guys have any other ideas though, let me know in the comments down below. If you use IBIS Paint and you see my process for how I would do something in IBIS Paint, let me know. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!